You can.
How are you doing? What's the latest on
I don't either, but my daughter does. Ready to make me slip out?
All right, you all be safe. Thank you. All right, bye-bye.
curious to your ideas. So now we're going to ask the presenters to come up and kind of share with us your top 3 concerns and your top 3 solutions and any costs that are associated with them. And just a note, the directors will stay around for a minute. If you didn't get to be in a group with a particular director that you want to talk to, they'll all be here for a few minutes for you to talk to. And let's give our attention to group 1.
Thank you. My name is Tony Smith. I'm the commander at Old Town Station. This covers Raleigh and Frazier and everything north of 40 to the city limits. We come from the river to Barton. So we're housed currently off of Old Town Road, just north of Yale, Frazier. And in the next 2 months or so, we'll be moving down to the Raleigh Center. Some traffic. It's a beautiful building. It's like twice the space we've got. So we're going to be happy when we get there. In the public safety section, we had a lot of discussion about traffic, speed bumps, speeding, some wires that were placed in the street down in Cremont and Cody Pike. That was our main concern, was the traffic and speeding issues around Old Allen and Raleigh in particular. That is something we can definitely do something about. We can have officers direct control there. I think that once the traffic office moves from Union Avenue to Raleigh, that will help a lot. The guys that do most of that traffic enforcement will be right there. The second concern, and to cover the solution for the speeding, we did talk about speed bumps and some traffic signal problems down at Stage and Coleman with the turn signal. We talked to Manny at the traffic engineer's office, and he said we can get with him in the very near future. Most of those issues, adding some turn signals may be a little cost to it, as far as just making sure the signals are working properly. That's something they do every day. If the wind blows and it messes them up, if the power goes out, some lightning strikes and hits them with the car, they go and repair those daily. So that's part of the budget. Putting things like turn signals in, maybe a little bit longer term issue, the Coleman and Stage with no turn signals, and I go through there too, because I go to Piccadilly down that way. Usually it's not too bad going right and back, so I don't usually turn any other direction off there. But I can see how when traffic heavy it can be a problem. The second issue, major thing that was concerned, crime generally, and Skywatch cameras. And Steve Chandler is the major real-time crime center. He does a lot of work with cameras. And I'll tell you, the box that they put up with the flash of blue light, some people like the flash of blue light, some people don't like the flash of blue light. Some people think that you're putting something there to watch them all the time. That's not the case. The police have got plenty to do. They're not watching you. But it does, when something happens in that area, they'll go back and look at those cameras and then see if they can find some evidence. Cameras are an amazing resource for the police. This precinct got our first homicide today in Frazier over off Overton Crossing. It appears to be a robbery at this point. There is amazing video from the store, and I think it's going to be very helpful toward the resolution of that homicide. So cameras work. They don't necessarily stop crime, but it can help stop the next crime, because it can definitely tell us who was responsible for the crime, and we can get those people off the street. So if you can get cameras, they're great. They're not cheap. The Skycop cameras, the enclosure is about $6,000. And that usually has 2 to 3 cameras in it. It has a hard drive. It's got a telephone, modem network. It's got lights. It's got a little fan in it to keep it off from burning out. But they're really neat. The neat stuff's high. Police stuff's expensive. It doesn't matter what it is. It's amazing when you start thinking about me standing here and I've probably got $4,000 or $5,000 of police equipment on me right now. The radio's like $4 grand. It's crazy. But it works. It works every time you go to use it. So that's the thing about getting a Skycop camera versus getting an inexpensive out-of-the-box camera from a big box store. That camera's going to work a lot better than it's just kind of a good resolution. But that was our second thing for crime concerns, being able to use those cameras for our well-being. The third was gang activity. I don't know if we had this made. So the solutions for our gang activity issues, the main is education for the youth. A lot of that may have to do with this crew. But getting people, let them understand about gangs. They were concerned about the identifiers of gangs in the neighborhood. We do a neighborhood watch the second Thursday of every month at the precinct. We have different people come in. All y'all should come. It's at 5:30, and we have different experts from different parts of the city. I'm sure Steve's been there. We have the MGU people. We have folks from homicide. We have canine people. We have everybody comes in. They talk about their expertise, and you can learn about gang things, symbols, signals, identifiers. You asked a specific question that I'm just not familiar with. So that's one thing that would help. So that's got gang activity. Skate park. I missed that part of the conversation. There is a skate park in front of our new precinct down there on Austin B. Neighborhood school involvement. Again, MGU does a lot of work with the schools. Y'all may or may not know former Colonel Sanders. I do his job now. He was here right before me. He actually went to work with the schools. And part of his job is programs. So he deals with programs in the schools to deal with the youth and keep up with gang involvement. Everything from the SHAKE program to whatever the latest and greatest thing that they've got in the schools to deal with any problems that they have. Colonel Sanders is in it. So we can deal with, we can call him up and get him involved again. And I missed the social media part. I got called to a different group. But I hate to ask. Any questions?
Any questions? Well, one thing I do want to say, thank you, Attorney Colonel, is that crime and everything else happens in our neighborhoods. They don't necessarily happen at City Hall. They happen in the neighborhood. So that's why we want to make sure we're talking in the neighborhood and finding solutions. And I saw here the grant. You know, it's so important. That's okay. It's so important to have representation for your neighborhood. Every neighborhood should have someone advocating for them, which would be a neighborhood association, a homeowner association, and a neighborhood watch group. The neighborhood watch groups can access at least $5,500 a year. So if every neighborhood had a neighborhood association and a neighborhood watch group, someone advocating for them, someone watching out for them, someone being educated about how they can improve, and someone getting these dollars and using those dollars to improve. So even if you had had some cameras, regular cameras, you couldn't afford the $6,000 camera yet. If you strategically put cameras throughout your neighborhood, that would help. And you can use some of those dollars from that $5,500 toward that. Knowing who's in your neighborhood, having community block parties or watch groups, having a street captain. All of these things matter, and we have to get back to being a neighborhood and a community and taking back our neighborhood to make sure that we're having even a yard of the month and keeping up, the community, because blight happens in our neighborhood. It doesn't necessarily happen at City Hall, but it happens in the neighborhood. So we have to take ownership. The mayor and the administration and city and government officials, we're all doing broad strokes at the top, but we have to come in the neighborhood and join forces by doing our part as a community. Everyone has a part to play, from the top down and from the bottom up, and we all circle our communities and make Memphis a better place. And we can't sit back and say what they're doing. You are the they as well. We are the they. So that's my approach, all of us doing it together. So thank you for your conversations and all of your ideas. We take these back and put them together. I know that Ms. Johnny had told us that, Tony, thank you for being here, said that a child was hit 2 weeks ago in Redmond. So these conversations matter. They're life or death for some people, for our young people. So we don't want to take them lightly. We take them back and really have conversations and do something about them, the street lights or whatever we need to do at our schools. So thank you. Our next group is number 2. Who's number 2? Light.
Okay, hi, my name is Beverly Parkin, and I was part of Blight Group 2. Raleigh has always been a beautiful part of Memphis, and we want to keep it that way. So in our group, it was a small group, but we talked about blight and all the different types of blight that are in our communities, from tires and mattresses and couches and abandoned cars on the streets. We have houses that have been burnt down and they need to be torn down. They're unsafe for our children and for everyone in our areas. So in order to keep our Raleigh looking beautiful, we want to take care of the blight. And as Rhonda just said, everyone has to take part of that. So we wanted to come up with an effective way to stamp out blight in the Raleigh area. So we wanted, what we all talked about was, what's the most effective way to get the message to city that we have these problems in our community. So we came up with the first step was to call 311. When you call 311 and we place our complaint, we're going to be assigned a number. We need to make sure we record that number. We need to find out who we talk to. And then we need to ask maybe what department will be referred to. So when we come back to talk about that, we'll know really what department, or the city or county, whatever department that is. So those are the things that we need to do. And then we need to be specific about what's going on. And then we need to follow up. We said about a week is what we were recommending. In about a week, if we haven't seen any action, then we need to call back. And when we call back, see, I have my number, I know who I talk to, so I know who I'm going to say, drop the ball, because I want action. We talked about how can we effectively get these steps out to the community. We didn't know what to do. So we thought, well, one thing is mail. And anybody that knows me know I read everything that comes in my house. So if you send something in the mail, I'm going to read it. Well, everybody don't read the mail. So we thought maybe TV commercials, or maybe we could get some of the news media to take this blight, and then they could do stories about it, and that would really get the word out, and it wouldn't cost a whole bunch, and we could get some of the news media involved in it. Of course, social media for our millennials and for people who don't read the paper or don't look at the TV, we still got to reach them to let them know the steps, and just in case they have to, call 311, so they know who to call. We also need to activate our neighborhood watches, because that's a way that we can put these steps out. The neighborhood watches are already organized, so they can let their members know. And then also you talked about money that we can get, create websites. I think I wasn't over there when you were talking about, but yeah, we could create a website for blight, make it very interactive, very interesting, so people would really keep that in their mind. Then we talked just a little bit about budget. We weren't really good with how much this is going to cost. Oh, that's it. We weren't real sure about it. So you can see we don't have a price for this. This is just our wish list. We just want the main thing to have these steps done so that everybody will know what to do. And tomorrow morning, I am calling 311, and I'm going to follow our steps, and I'm going to report back and let you know whether it works. All right?
And one extra thing you can note on there too, that we're really blessed in Raleigh to have the Raleigh PJA, which is the Police Joint Agency. And we want everybody involved in Police Joint Agency. We meet once a month in this very room. We have all of the agencies that are, most all of them that are here tonight, plus there are several others that come. and we address those concerns on 311 that are lingering or that are put on there by you. So if you put a complaint on 311 and you want it addressed timely, email it to raleighpja@gmail.com. And we will take that complaint and put it on the report and bring it to this meeting. And every 30 days, we have the meeting, and we have reports from the city code, county code, public works, all of the departments in public works. They come and tell how they address the complaint, why they didn't address it, when it's going to be addressed, how it's going to resolve, what the status is, and you get to talk to them one-on-one, the inspectors and all of those people that are actually going out doing the work and dealing with those complaints. So we meet here every second Wednesday at 1:30 with all of those departments that address the things on 311. So add that to the list as well, and that's totally free. They come here each month, and it's free to us. So we want to make sure that we're accessing them. All right, the third group, y'all had some great ideas. Some of them light bulb went off when I heard you. Great conversation.
Good evening. My name is Larissa Jackson. I am the principal at Raleightownhall Middle School. And come on, reintroduce yourself.
I'm Miss Nora, the 13-year-old
All right. Who will soon be going to Raleightownhall Middle. All right. So we've had youth opportunities. First, we talked about some of the problems that exist in the community, and we said the lack of investment in the community, lack of youth, adult mentors, lack of recreational activities, lack of after-school cultural arts programs, a lack of emphasis on career development at earlier ages, and also we felt like we focused on everyone going to college a whole lot, and so more kids at earlier ages need to be exposed to other career options. A lack of programs that focus on children ages 8 to 14, catch them early. And so some of our solutions were to develop a comprehensive plan for Blight, public safety, and economic development, because if we do that, then we address some of the issues with the youth in our community, because some of those issues stem from these other problems. Expose children to careers at earlier ages, and this can be done by bringing in community members into schools at earlier ages, elementary schools and middle schools. Also, having activities in the community, like community centers that expose children to those careers at earlier ages. Community members volunteering in the schools and at community centers to help expose those students to those careers, and programs that address trauma and ACEs. And ACEs are those adverse childhood experiences that a lot of students come to school with, and I think that's more than a school problem, it's a community problem. Also, listen more to the youth.
Well, that kind of adds on to the trauma experiences, but what I feel like that is like students in like currently they have like lots of stress going on and lots of suicidal thoughts, and so that like if you listen to students more, you'll like understand what they're doing and probably help them out with like work stuff.
So we thought maybe we should have some youth forums where we allow students to just kind of one person at a time take the mic or take the pen, and they really talk about what's going on, because a lot of times we don't know what's going on with them. They have all these personal life problems, and then social media really complicates it, and a lot of the community community doesn't understand how social media makes every problem more complex for kids. Also, Saturday enrichment. We talked about how kids don't get to learn in school those things we used to learn back in home economics, like cooking and sewing, and a lot of kids don't know how to swim. A lot of students don't know just basics of just really surviving. I was talking about my 11-year-old who doesn't like to go to school at all because he doesn't get to do the types of things that he really wants to do, like art and music a lot of the times. So just having an opportunity to expose those kids to that on the outside of school and giving them an opportunity to be themselves and discovering who they really are so that they can have a future in what it is they have a gift in, whatever their gift is, finding that gift. Also, so we said our costs were time and commitment, everybody making an effort to mentor or to come up with a solution for our kids and to really help them. And we also added some dollar signs because we're gonna need some more money, but we don't know how much, we just know lots.
Let's give Isadora another hand. I had a great conversation, and so on point, we have a program at Egypt Elementary called Camp Explore Team Read, and we introduce the second graders to different careers because they don't get that exposure. So anyone we'd love to have you join Team Read, and it's a part of teaching literacy at an early age of second grade. So if the cutoff or the checkpoint is third grade, we want to make sure we get in before then to ensure that they do know how to read. So great conversation. Last but not least, we have our economic development, and let's give our presenters a hand as they come. Not you, I just knew it was you.
Look inside you and be strong. Then you finally see the truth that a hero lies in you. And I run a small business in 3812 called 12 Disciples Entertainment. It's a home-based business, and I have the opportunity to participate with the community and economic development portion piece. So we had a lot of discussions, and we narrowed it down to the top 3, but what we found is there was an overarching component that ties all of these, which is communication. You can offer a lot of things to the residents, but if they don't know about it and they're not getting the message, then you have a lot more empty seats than you should have, and you should be open on speakers. Communication. So our top 3 issues concerning community and economic development was, first of all, funding. And one of the things we tried to come up with solutions for funding for growing the community and growing economic development is public and private partnerships. You have business owners who, like myself, my business is home-based, and I would love to get in the building. But are there public space and real estate available that will be advantageous for a small business owner getting started with their first real estate property? So finding those partnerships, public and private partnerships. Private investment and venture capital, having access to that. Some people know about it, some people know where to go, but a lot of small business owners do not. So communicating with, connecting those dots. Leveraging local funding, so we can have more federal funding and more state funding. So I'm starting with that. Clearinghouse and land use. The next thing that we wanted to focus on is training. There's one of the, Johnny gave the example of Amazon coming, but prior to their arrival, can we have orientation for training of what they're going to be looking for, the type of employees they're going to want to have, and have people ready to go to the community, making sure that we have people who are armed and ready to take advantage of those positions and jobs. Collaborating with business owners, community programs. There may be community programs that offer training in this area, but are we putting the word out as a city that this is something we offer? So in their organization, if someone comes and doesn't fit their criteria, do they have an immediate resource to say, hey, you can get this here? So collaborating with those other organizations. Counseling and data analysis. Paying attention to who's coming to us, what do they need, really documenting and, following up with it so we can understand what are the trends and what can we foresee coming and be better prepared for. And the last option was transportation as well as transit. So there is a transportation utility fee that some other cities have utilized, so there could be an option as a solution to add to that piece. And also, again, going back to local funding, which could leverage more federal funding, more state grants, and then again, data analysis, understanding where the true needs are, is in 38128, what streets, what back roads, what businesses do we need to offer more transportation to that will assist the transit operations in the city. So I talk fast. It feels like I'm talking fast. Did you catch it? Any questions?
Thank you so much. So as you see here, we have a lot of ideas that's come out of, and I definitely want to get one of these on the transportation fee, utility fee. But we're going to take these back, and I appreciate you pouring into me and pouring into our district through your conversations and your ideas. So we'll take these back, put them together, and this won't be the last time, but we'll continue to reach out to you because we have to do this together, and we have a wonderful and awesome opportunity to get some things done. So please, make sure you complete a survey before you leave if you're a resident of Raleigh or Fraser or Cordova and you are here tonight. But please fill out, she's going to pass these out. And we want to encourage you to get involved in the community. If you're not involved, you're welcome to join the CDC, or you're welcome to your other groups in the community that you can join. But get involved and get plugged in so we can get these things done. Thanks again to everyone that came out. Matt had to leave, but they were here, and I appreciate. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Right here. If y'all have any questions, the directors are still here. That's right. I'm sorry. They're still here for you to ask them. And directors, again, thank you all for coming out. If anybody came in that I did not acknowledge before, please stand if you're a director. If you haven't been acknowledged, because I want to make sure everybody knows that you're here. Well, just make sure you come down front so if people have questions, you can pass out cards and see them. Thank you all so much, and as we move forward, we do want to continue to have your voice, and we will be back, and these will check the website, the Facebook page, social media and the website for more information on what came out of the listening tour. We'll compile everything and give it back to you through that. Thank you. Pick up my card tonight. Thank you all. Have a good night.